Good morning. Today's video is about a popular, or rather I say unpopular, meme on tips on how to look after your husband. First, if you're new to my channel, my name is Eleanor and I go by Radically for Jesus on YouTube. I make videos for Christian ladies trying to follow a narrow path. I have videos on homemaking, homeschooling, sewing, head covering, modest dress, and in general faith talks for the Christian faith. If any of that's interesting to you, hang around, watch this video. If you like it, click like and subscribe if you're interested. On to today's topic. I wanted to talk about this meme. I've seen it, 100 times over the course of the last few years. I've seen it go around when it used to be email chains, and people usually share it laughing. They think it's very funny and just ridiculously stupid that people would want to have tips to look after your husband. Supposedly, this has come from a 1950s home economics book. No one's ever able to cite exactly which one or whatever, and it's possible someone just made this up. It's unknown. But the general gist of the email or meme is usually about the same, and there'll be various variations of it. But nearly always, when friends or family share it, they're mocking it, laughing at it, and so forth. And I get why. At one time, I would have too. So let me totally put that out there up front. At one time, I would have laughed at it too. But I would encourage you not to laugh at it. Personally, I think it's excellent advice. I think it's really, really good advice, in fact. And I think it's a little shameful in our society that we have gotten to the place that this is funny. It shouldn't be. It should be like, wow, those are really good tips. Let me absorb what I can. But that's not how people look at it. Again, I used to be that way too, so I'm not trying to be a jerk or condemn anybody. I'm just trying to get you to think and open your mind in this particular case to think a little differently. Why is it so bad? First of all, ask yourself that. People will tell you, oh, you can't make your husband into a god, or you're making him into to be too important, or whatever. This is the man you love. He's the man you married. Why can you not do things for him? Certainly you can, and I believe you should. You should treat each other as you wish to be treated. You should be very kind, very loving, and do things for him, just as he's probably going to do kind and loving things for you too. Personally, as many of you know, if you follow my channel, I believe in the headship order. That's what this represents. I believe in the headship order of 1 Corinthians 11, 1 through 16, that the husband is the head of the wife, as the scripture says. So in that light, I have absolutely no problem with this. I think it's just simply been thoughtful. I'm going to read through this, and maybe we'll talk about some points. I don't have my glasses on, so forgive me if I flub on the reading. I'm reading from my phone here. The title of this is Tips to Look After Your Husband, and it says extract from 1950 home economics book. First one, have dinner ready. Plan ahead, even the night before, to have a delicious meal on time. This is a way of letting him know that you've been thinking about him and are concerned about his needs. Most men are hungry when they come home, and the prospects of a good meal are part of a warm welcome needed. Personally, this is something I strive to do if my husband has gone out and gone to work like he has today. A lot of days he's getting to work from home now, which is just totally a blessing. But my mom always strived, whatever the correct tense of that verb is. She always tried to do the same thing. Make sure that she had a nice meal ready for my dad when he came home from work. My dad had usually a physical job, so all the more important. My husband has a hard thinking job. His job is an office-based job. He's an analyst. So it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, most men are going to come home hungry, and I think it's only thoughtful, especially if you're a stay-at-home wife, to have a meal ready. Why not? Obviously, if you are different shifts or you have unusual things for schedules and timings, it might not work out. But if you can, by all means do so. Why is it so crazy? I think it's a wonderful idea. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup, put a ribbon in your hair, and let it be fresh looking. He has just been with a lot of work-weary people. Be a little gay and more interesting, which is funny with the use of that word. His boring day may need a lift. Obviously, the meaning of words change over the years, so being gay just means happy if you don't know. Generally, I'm all for this. The only part that I would not do there is I'm not a makeup wearer. The only thing I ever put on is like a little Burt's Bees on my lips, and some of mine are tinted, some of them aren't. I'm very allergic to a lot of that stuff, and for reasons I just don't like being made up. But in general, allergies totally prevent me from doing that. And that's kind of a point with some of these. There's some of these that will not work for you. That's okay. No one said you had to do all of them, but there's certainly nothing wrong in them. It's certainly pleasant if you've had a really bad day or even a hard day where you've just worked your tushy off and you come home. You really don't want to come home to people griping and yelling and stuff like that, if possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes maybe a person's had a really, really bad day, and as soon as they come home, they're going to go into the fray. It happens. But the goal should be to make it as pleasant as possible. Wouldn't you want that for yourself? I would. If I go out and go grocery shopping and my husband happens to be watching my kids, which happens a lot now because, again, he works from home now, so a lot of times the kids can stay and I go out. When I come back, I'm tired, really tired. And if I find out that the kids were naughty or something while I'm gone, and all of a sudden I'm hit with, all the naughtiness that they did when they come through, or that something happened, maybe work-wise, or something blew up, I don't know. Then it's kind of like, oh man, I'm tired, so I just don't feel like dealing with that right now. And that's just a little slice of what you might feel like if you've worked all day long. Back in the day, I used to work outside the home, and the last thing I would have wanted coming home would have been to get hit with a bunch of negative things right when I walk in the front door. Obviously, sometimes life is real, life happens, and no one is perfect all the time. But again, the goal should be to be a little positive and happy when you come home. Clear away the clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house just before your husband arrives, gathering up school books, toys, paper, and then run a dust cloth over the tables. Your husband will feel he has reached a haven of rest and order, and it will give you a lift too. This is so true, so true. And do I fail at it? Often. I often fail at this. I try to do a good job at being a homemaker. Am I perfect? No. There are times it's messy. I do work extra hard on those Tuesdays when my husband goes in to make sure that when he comes home it's fairly tidy. Is every room perfect? Absolutely not. Do I get to the small things like dusting? No. I'm happy if I can just get the living room picked up and that the kitchen isn't a wreck and it's generally neat and tidy. But the more neat and tidy the better. And also, like I just did a video recently, it also removes my own stress too. So it's a good thing both ways. It's not that you have to maintain a perfect house at all times, but the more neat and tidy it is, the less stress that you will both have. Again, a good thing. Prepare the children. Take a few minutes to wash the children's hands and faces. If they're small, comb their hair, and if necessary, change their clothes. They're little treasures, and he would like to see them playing the part. Now this one, if there's any that maybe are a little eye-rolling, it might be this one. But I do think that it's good to have your children looking neat and tidy. I do fail at this often. My little one especially, she likes to play and she gets to be a mess throughout her day. It happens. It's part of life. The goal, though, is to be more neat and tidy and to not look like, you sludge through the backyard mud pits or something like that. So you do your best there. I mean, life is real. We have kids. Kids get messy. I get that. Totally get it. Minimize all noise. At the time of his arrival, eliminate all noise of the washer, dryer, dishwasher, or vacuum. Try to encourage the children to be quiet. Be happy and greet him. To be happy to see him. Greet him with a warm smile and be glad to see him. So, this one I think is super, super important. Do the best you can with this one. I know this one is very, very important to my husband. Now, grant you, I do not silence the washer or the household appliances. These things don't bother him. The one exception is the vacuum. I try to make sure that I get the vacuuming done when he is into work, rather than doing it when he's here at the house, especially while he's working. I do not run that while he's working because he's on work calls a lot, his conference calls and stuff. I don't run that vacuum because I don't want to disrupt those calls. But I also don't want to run it when he's just walking in the door either. I don't talk on the phone. I don't have phone conversations if he's just come home from work or stuff like that. I try to make that a time of quiet for him and help him feel welcome, and my attention and my focus is on him. And I think that's an awesome thing. And again, it's reciprocal. You would like the same, I'm sure, if you were in the opposite shoes. My husband really does not like to be bombarded right when he first comes in the door because he's tired after a full day's work. Most men are. I don't think that's unusual in any way. And he's never mean about it, not at all. But you can just see that overwhelmed feeling, like if he comes in the door and all of a sudden the kids are like, Dad, guess what happened? Blah, blah, blah. He's glad that they're excited to see him, but it's just a little overwhelming. It's just like, okay, calm down. Tell Daddy, but give us a few. Nothing wrong with waiting a little bit. Certainly, you may have things that you have to relate. Just give us some time. Some don'ts. Don't greet him. Again, we're just about talking about this. Don't greet him with problems or complaints. Don't complain if he's late for dinner. Count this as minor compared with what he may have gone through that day. Lateness, I don't ever get mad at my husband for being late for dinner because of work. He's working to take care of us and to support us. Why on earth would I get mad at him? I don't understand that if somebody does get mad at their husband. I've not really seen other ladies complain about that. You're always late. Maybe some do. I hear people talk about it, but I've never actually seen it happen. But if a person is complaining to their husband that they're working too late or whatever, that I think it needs a big check. Why would you do that if he's working hard to take care of you? Unless he's working to avoid you and doesn't really need to work that hard and is just trying to avoid coming home, then you need to do a major check to see what's going on. Why is he hesitating to come home? Why does he not want to be there? There's proverbs and scriptures about that, about being in a home with a contentious wife. You don't want your husband to hate coming home. You want him to want to come home. And that's the whole point of this particular thing, is you want him to want to come home. So as long as he's working to take care of you and not like trying to avoid you, I can't fathom why anyone would complain about your husband having to work over. Sure, it's like, oh, maybe I just had a nice steak made and it's nice and fresh and now it's going to have to be reheated. Yeah, it's like, that ruined the good meal I had planned, but, praise God for a hard-working husband who's working hard to take care of you, warm the steak up, and he will still be glad to have it when he comes home, I'm sure. Don't complain about it, and don't make him feel bad for it, because he's doing something for you and for your children, if you have them. Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair. Suggest that he lie down in the bedroom. Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. Arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. Speak in a low, soft, soothing, pleasant voice and allow him to relax and unwind. This one I think people really laugh at because they just see it as really catering to a king or something like that. Again, I have no problem with this. I do think the low, soft voice is a good thing. I am naturally blessed with a fairly low, soft voice. People tell me all the time on YouTube that I have a calming, quiet voice. I don't really do anything to make that happen. It's just my natural way. God just blessed me with that, I guess. I'm not loud. I don't even like speaking loud. Like to go into Chipotle, I hate ordering there because you have to practically yell. I don't like to yell. Not my thing. But again, men especially, I know my husband does like a little quiet when he comes home. They don't like to be overwhelmed and bombarded. They want a place of peace and rest. That's what your home ought to be, is a place of rest. Strive for that as much as you can. A loud, nagging wife is not a good thing. The taking his shoes off and stuff like that, I know people really find that something to mock, but my husband takes my shoes off and rubs my feet sometimes when I'm tired. That's really the end of the world. Do you get mad at him for that? Bet you don't. Listen to him. You may have, and it looks like this says many things. The thing has got a glare on it. You may have many things to tell him, but the moment of his arrival is not the time. Let him talk first. There was multiple glares covering that, so it's hard to see. Again, that kind of goes with having a quiet arrival. Most of the time when a husband comes home, you can certainly put off what you need to tell him. There might be something important that cannot wait. Maybe something happened during the day, and as soon as he comes home, maybe you have to leave to get somewhere on time that was unexpected. You do what you got to do. life happens. We all get that. Again, this is a goal, not a rule. No one's like, going to Hades if they don't do this. It's just something to strive for out of kindness and love. Make his evening his. Never complain if he does not take you out to dinner or other places of entertainment. Instead, try to understand his world of strain, pressure, and his need to come home and relax. This is, again, another one of those things that people get really ruffled about. Why would you make the evening his? What about you too? Personally, one of the biggest pieces of advice my husband and I would give to other people who are getting married is put the one you love before yourself. No, it's always one person all the time, it's not the best recipe, but quite often, if you both do that, then you will have a much better marriage. So, as a wife, I'm not talking, my channel is not to the men, my channel is to you Christian ladies. As a wife, put your husband before yourself. Yes, do everything you can to make that evening his, because you're putting him first. And of course, you're putting your children in there too. As mamas and wives, that's what we often do. We put others before ourselves. That's what we should do. I think a selfish attitude is a sinful attitude. Selfishness is, in my mind, a sinful thing, not a good thing. Yes, we have to take care of ourselves. Yes, we need rest. And yes, we have to occasionally stop and look to our own needs. That is part of life. It's normal. But to make that your prevailing attitude and an attitude of selfishness all the time, no. Selflessness needs to be key. Super, super important. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Always put the one that you love before yourself. And so many things will work themselves out. The last one, the goal. Try to make your home a place of peace and order where your husband can renew himself in body and spirit. And I think if you'll read through the Proverbs, there's many, many Proverbs that boil down to that very thing. Make your home a place of peace. And I submit this is not a thing to be laughed at or mocked or scorned. I submit this is a goal. You guys should be using this as a goal. Will anyone execute it perfectly? Probably not. I do not. I'm not even close. But I do strive for that sort of thing. And I don't think it's bad. I think it's biblical, good, and honest, and it's putting the one that you love before yourself, which ultimately we as Christian wives should be doing. And that is not something to laugh at. Have a very blessed day.